Hey, what's up, Street Tods? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So currently hanging out with my homeboy Bill Brown. Hello, interwebs.
Hey.
Also my buddy Todd Hatakeyama.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? Who are you? My boy Rinzi Ruiz.
What's up,
And
guys?
who's that over there?
Hi.
Hello.
Say hello to the camera, Ona.
She says, I'm a baby street dog. Yeah. So where are we, Bill?
We're in downtown LA,
Yep.
in the fashion district.
Yep. Mhm.
We're around basically like everywhere that you would want to go for street photography in Los Angeles, unless you want to head like deeper into it. So there's like a lot of activity down here.
Yeah.
And you know, good place to pick up a very street and urban environment in a city that's sometimes not known for that.
Right. So you're a street photographer and you also do fashion photography
Yes.
and also magazine editor and whatnot. Can
Yes.
you just quickly show us your place real quick?
Sure, yeah.
And tell us about how you use your work live space situation. 'Cause this is awesome.
So we have about I'd say about 1,700 square feet.
Wow.
We got a space in this building. It's the old Reserve Bank building.
Oh, man.
You know, we don't get direct sunlight, so we can put up a seamless, and we can do like fashion shoots.
Yep.
Here and.
Where do you
know,
do the fashion shoots?
Yeah, basically against this wall, we do. We use this this seamless, pull things down, and
Yep.
then, use a few different like medium format Pentax 645Z.
Yeah.
I've been using the Leica SL lately with
Oh.
some R lenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, we can stand up against
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
bookshelf because that looks legit, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your magazine.
So, Black and Gray is a magazine I founded in 2010, and basically, over the last few years, we've gone from being in Barnes and Noble to like doing more direct sales and other things. But really, it's a fashion, art, and culture magazine, but it's kind of turned more into culture of photography, as well as like the culture around like really what's going on. So,
Don't you have a sample copy in there?
yeah, there's a few. Let me see. Yeah, this one. So this issue was the Inferno issue.
So why Inferno?
Inferno. Each issue has a theme. This one specifically had a. So this is Erica Linder. So she's a model that's both on the men's board and the women's board.
Okay.
And this was around the time, this specific issue was around the time that the Met Art did a punk exhibit.
Oh, cool.
So what we did was we did a film for a website called Show Studio, which was founded by the photographer Nick Knight, and who was an old punk, guy. And we did a rendition of an old film called Jubilee by another filmmaker, photographer actually, Derek Jarman. And so we did kind of like
You can flip through it. Yeah.
yeah, a few different things. This was a photo shoot that was done in London.
That's cool.
Let me see. This one was just sort of a beauty shoot. There's more, strict stuff. Let me see. This was Brian Butler. This is Newt Sear from the Twilight series.
That's awesome.
Let's see. There was a fashion exhibit. This is a manifesto by the filmmaker Nick Zed.
Cool.
Let me see. This is a Hollywood lady. This is a pretty famous model named Nettie Harris. If you look her up, and then right next to it is a story. So so we also try to put literature in the magazine as well. Fashion shoot. And then we get into the sort of the main shoot. And then and a kind of an extension of that.
Yep.
So this was highly like stylized work. The work that's been coming out now has been a little bit less stylized, less Photoshop. A lot more photographers that have been dealing with things in a very different way. Asking Eric if he wants to do something. So it's trying to kind of meld the two worlds And also at the same time, have something that can be said.
yeah.
If you have something to say, then it's a lot easier to photograph a story for a magazine.
Well, I think you're at such a cool intersection between arts, literature, photography, poetry, fashion.
Yeah.
How do you merge your different styles in photography, and especially, I guess, the tension between street and fashion photography? Because on one hand, the fashion, you're doing it in the studio here. Street is, it's kind of raw and unedited. So how do you kind of balance both of these different styles of photography?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that the best way to balance both styles of photography really is to shoot what you like.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So then, therefore, in fashion photography, what you're doing is you're pre-conceptualizing a story.
Yep.
You're working with a team,
Uh-huh.
and you're working with a team that sometimes they're not going to know what the story is until you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're pre-conceptualizing this kind of this situation, you're finding the things that you like. If you try to do something that looks like fashion photography,
Yep.
then what's going to end up happening is that's all it's going to look like, and then every single fashion story that comes out will look the same. It'll be
Yep.
all based on the next thing. Now that is one way to do it, and some people do that really, really well. And that's what I like to say is the more commercial aspect of it.
Yep.
Well, I'm from an old school mindset that commercial photography and editorial photography, which is what an editorial in a magazine by a photographer, even if you're using things that would be considered sold, it's still an editorial unless someone's paying for it.
Yep.
I'm from the old school thought that editorial photography stays editorial. So therefore it is an artistic process,
Yep.
much more so than a commercial process. So, and in that same regards, you're also finding people that want to work with you because of that vision.
Daddy,
Hey.
Daddy, Daddy. Sheila, I want to be on YouTube too.
That's right.
And one thing that I really love about your work is you're highly inspired by the Kerouac School. You went there and you
Yeah.
studied poetry.
Yeah,
You're also
the first Leica I found that was around my neck, that I saw around anyone's neck was Allen Ginsberg. So, and he was my teacher for poetics. So, so when I'm thinking in storylines, I'm thinking poetry. And then Allen introduced me to Robert Frank, and I didn't know he was street photographer. I mean, at the time, we didn't really make those designations.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
fact, I would probably even say, just call yourself a photographer.
Yep,
You
yep.
know, don't try to make the designation. Sure, you're going to do street, but you might do other things.
Definitely.
But anyway, and influenced by my time at the Kerouac School, became a photographer probably 10 years after the fact, professionally.
Yep.
And then at the same time, I started finding out some things by reading these books.
Okay, so because you also mentioned that you love Japanese photography.
Yeah.
And
Well-
so talk about that and also your love of books.
Yeah, so I started picking up some books. I was reading through your blog, reading through other blogs, and trying to find really the history of what I was drawn to.
Yep.
We also, my wife and I and baby actually go to. she's
Baby
looking
likes
for
the book.
magazines now.
Yay, magazines.
My wife and I and baby, we then end up going to galleries a lot. So there was one time that we went to the Gagosian in Beverly Hills, which is a big gallery, one of the probably top 5 that do gallery shows. And there was a photography exhibit that was a fashion photography, basically fashion portraits exhibit. So, some of the people in the portraits were like Alexander McQueen, or you'd have some celebrities, et cetera, et cetera. And they were good portraits. So by complete accident, we ended up at this other gallery, right afterwards.
Yep.
And the first thing that I saw was a pure black and white portrait of a cat with one eye.
Nice.
About, 6 foot.
Yeah.
6 foot by 3 foot. And I went, what in the world? And the portrait was Daido Moriyama. So, who is a well-known, now he's in his 70s, Japanese photographer, street photographer, probably one of the more well-known photographers coming out of Japan besides Araki. So anyway, I started really looking into that whole tradition. and we're looking into him and then finding out where he came from. Well, he came from a magazine period where there was a magazine that had 4 issues and changed photography forever
Yep.
out of Japan. And it was a magazine called Provoke. And there were basically three main purveyors of that magazine. Moriyama actually came in the 2nd edition, and the other 2, this guy, let me see, Yutaka Takanashi,
Yep.
and then Takuma Nakahira. Those 2 were basically the same kind of founders, and it was interesting because it was Nakahira that actually came from a poetry tradition, and it hit me like a brick.
Oh.
Because the magazine was not only their kind of whole concept is that the photographers had to reclaim language or reclaim like the image making as language, because of the way that commercial photography had basically lied. So then you're looking at the images. So
Bust out some photo books.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
So let's just see.
Personal favorites.
Personal favorites. Okay, we'll go into this one. So this is Labyrinth.
Right. So tell us about the book.
So Daido Moriyama's Labyrinth is a series of his contact sheets.
Yep.
Essentially. So we picked this up, and it's essentially the interesting thing is that like I've seen the contact sheet photo books, like the ones that are coming out of Magnum.
Yep.
And what they do is they kind of tell you which one of the photos was chosen.
Yep.
Well, this book doesn't. It just shows you all of the images, and then you won't know unless you see the photo book in another place that which one actually was chosen as the final image. So it's kind of interesting to see the entire process, and you'll see that he's working a scene, he's going through and like, you know, and it's not only just street photography. I mean, a lot of it's street photography, a lot of it's photography of streets, you know, a lot of it's like nighttime photography, a lot of it's other things, but there's a lot of portraits. I mean, you know, this particular series looks like, you know, is a portrait series.
Yep.
You know, and then he also has like his relationships. He has you know, people coming out of cars. He has like all of these different scenes. These scenes of like images from posters. You know, and this was the kind of stuff that I saw like right after I came from the Gagosian, seeing you know, basically fashion photographers that were very, very, very hardcore in their specific realm.
Yep.
And then seeing like things like this. So this exhibit basically changed what I really thought that I could do with things. So and then from there, you know, it's like it also kind of changes my perspective on the magazine. It kind of like made me look toward these other you know, other ways of doing things. I'll just put that up there. So you know, I looked through more Japanese photo books. I looked through you know, Takanashi, who was also part of the Provoke era. Now this is an actual facsimile of his work. So a lot of his work was like some more landscape stuff. A lot of this stuff is coming down here.
Yep.
You know, finely produced books that were kind of put together with writing. You know, landscapes with one small person in it. I mean, very. There was another. I mean, you know, then some more like basic street-looking type things, architectural things. So you're like really looking at angles. You know, some other stuff. You know, more things that would portraiture, more things that would look like, you know, basically like a street scene, just small child, old woman, you know, small child with the sunglasses on, and an older woman that, you know, is kind of. So these are very interesting. You know, an interesting, different way of looking at things. And then we have. Now this book is called Towards the City.
Towards the City.
Towards the City. So then you have sort of the founding thought process, and there's actually an essay in here where Nakahira talks about like what it was that created that whole scene. But then you look at this work and you think, wow, you know, Moriyama wasn't alone. You know, there was an entire thought process about this arbor bokeh, or this blurry, grainy, out of focus. And the thought process was actually, you know, coming out of 1968, was kind of political, coming out of a very similar time period, is that, in a sense, that we're where we are now, I mean, with the way things are going.
Because your style is very much like the gritty, black and white, contrasty, very edgy, very rock and roll feeling. Let's go over to your computer. I want to check out some of your recent photos. You recently did a workshop with Bruce Gilden. Learned a thing or two. So maybe just show us maybe either your personal favorites, whether they be street photos or, you know, just kind of your fashion work.
Let's just see what do we have here. So let's see what we got. I can show you. I'm basically shooting at least 3 or 4 times a week. So it's kind of, you know, I'll do everything from, we'll just go down here, you know, a strict portrait shoot. This is with Suede Brooks. So she's a big YouTuber. She recently signed. You know, we'll do something with her. And then, you know, if you go up a little bit further, there's her with my daughter. You'll see that, like, I'm shooting with multiple cameras. I mean, this was with the M240 and a 28 millimeter, and I had to explain to her that, like, the 28 millimeter is basically what the iPhone and mobile photography had taken 28 millimeter and turned it into something. So, you know, they like this. I mean, it's like it's kind of amazing. And then
let's see some of your street stuff too.
Well, that's why I was kind of going into this. If I can find it. So so then I'll take the same model and I'll take the 10 person and I will put them into a street kind of like photography scene. So it's like, you know, and this is basically like very, you know, I chose Gilden to do a Magnum workshop with because I thought that, well, not only he would be really hard on me, but I also thought that you know, his portraiture style was very similar to where I was going, so you know, you'll see these are like, I mean, like those contact sheets. These are just a few of the, I mean, which one would you choose? You know, you know, and then there's, you know, some with the sunglasses, you know, some other things. So it's like, and sometimes it's hard, you know, sometimes it's difficult to figure out what's going on. So this is more of that. And this was just basically her outside. So, I mean, it went from the studio inside to like more of an outside scene. You know, you'll get something like that, more of this type of portraiture. Again, 28 millimeter lens. You know, have them walking. But, you know, but they're also, as Bruce would probably have said, giving it to you. So, so you have to, you know that, you know, it's part of it's that. Oh, this was interesting. So there was someone behind her rubbing her eyes. And then so,
do you also have some of the color street photos you shot during my workshop? Those are pretty good too.
I'll throw away. Maybe that's in 2015. Or no, here we go. Were these okay?
These are awesome.
So this was like during.
Oh yeah, I remember that shot. That was awesome.
So this guy just walked up and he asked me for a cigarette and he had a small head. So I just used a Ryko GR actually and just zoomed in and did a macro shot of that. Then there's this guy who was I think Eric, I think you told me to talk to him, and I did. And you know, it kind of got that. And then there was this shot, which was kind of like the orange and the orange.
This one's great.
So that was kind of a high contrasty kind of style. I think that those were the main 3 that we chose. There might be some others.
Nice.
And we did some some other stuff.
Yeah. And then we're running out of batteries so quickly.
Okay, cool.
Show us what cameras you're currently shooting with.
Oh, okay, cool. Well,
That's always, people love that.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
love the gear.
so right now I don't have the 645Z out. That's basically the studio camera. But right now I have a M240
Yep.
with a 28 millimeter Summicron.
Yep.
That is pretty much my primary camera for most things.
Yep.
And then I have the Leica SL, this time with a 90 millimeter. Actually, you borrowed it today.
Yep.
And it's a great lens. It's actually, in my opinion, best used on a device that has focus peaking or has some sort of thing, because you can lose focus on it, especially with a rangefinder, even though that's what it's built for.
Definitely.
So it's a great lens for other things. And then actually,
Yep.
the M8.
So why the M8?
So the M8 it's a CCD sensor.
Yep.
Obviously, it's the first CCD sensor.
Mm-hmm.
It still works really, really well.
Yep.
Its black and whites are amazing.
Oh yeah.
And it has a nice. I mean, it's still. I mean, after 10 years,
Yep.
it still has a lot of pulling. I had to replace the shutter on this, but now that I replaced the shutter, I mean, it's like, I think the shutter was only replaced once in 10 years, so I'll
Yep.
probably have another 10 years with it.
Nice.
So as long as the batteries still maintain, I mean, sometimes they say that the batteries aren't doing well with this one. I even they say that you can't use a Wi-Fi Mobi, but I use one and it
Nice.
works fine. As long as these batteries maintain life, or somebody keeps on creating them, I think you'll have a good one. Its battery life is kind of shit. It's you only see it's slow, it's loud. The photos are not perfect, at least on the LCD screen. But once you pull them out, I mean, they really kind of maintain. And this is at night. I mean, this is ISO 640
Not
at
bad.
1/25th of a second in the middle of the night. And I think I even shot this on this. This is a Voigtlander 35 1.4, and I think I shot it at like f2 or even f2.8, and it was fine.
All right. So I don't know when the
cool.
battery's gonna last. So last question. Any street photography advice you wish you gave yourself when you started off?
Oh my gosh. There are no rules, but you have to follow them anyway.
Nice. I love it. Okay. So Bill, where can people find more about you and what you do and stuff like that?
Right now, you can either go to blackgraymag, GREYMag.com, or you can just follow me on Instagram at,
What's your
BIL1L Brown, or any of the social media.
BILBRON.
BRLWN, yeah.
Okay.
BILBROWN, just like the color. And
Okay.
1L.
Sick. Well, excited to see what you got up the valley.
All right.
Goodbye. Bye, baby. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye. Cat. Yeah, nice cat.